All right, cyber traders, we are back here heading into this Tuesday afternoon, April 13th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, and the audio is good to go for all of us on social media. I had to make sure that was right today. Once again, I apologize for all of us on Facebook Live, YouTube from yesterday. Started the meeting off like 14 minutes in. I realized I was muted. So let me just do a quick sound check to cure my paranoia, make sure everybody can hear me loud and clear. I know that we're good to go across the trading room, at least. I saw from Grant and Ken just before, Kathleen as well. Great to see all of our students joining us, though. Ron and Lori as well. Ken says that he could hear me. Probably unfortunate for Ken, but nonetheless, great to see him and everybody else, though. And for all of us in social media, I believe I'm good to go there, too. So without further ado, you knew I'd start with this, right? You knew I would. And I'm not necessarily even talking about Riot. I mean, of course, Riot's pushing up beautifully, taking us into the close. It's almost up 15% at this point. But there wasn't a whole lot that really moved from the morning in terms of equities. I know that the Johnson & Johnson, thing ended up kind of tampering with the market a bit early on, led to some good shorts. But we're going to talk about Bitcoin. How can we not? Now, of course, I kind of kept I haven't really shown this as frequent over the last week or so. I mean, I've shown you Bitcoin when it's made a steep drop, and I was wrong on one or two occasions here. But obviously, it goes to show how strong this thing is going to be, let alone as it is now. But I say that because if you go back to this afternoon meeting, I've been following Bitcoin with you folks on a couple of different charts, a 1-hour chart, which I show here, and along with that, a 6-hour chart. Those are the two main charts I've been, showing over the last many months. More or less, we'll stick on a 1 hour here for right now because I was forewarning us of a potential crash. If the cards went against us here, but I said that because Bitcoin was breaking through the 500 EMA just a couple of different occasions, and for a while it was dropping off. But even here going into the last week, right, April 7th, this is just about a week ago. It ended up crashing back below the 500 EMA on the 1 hour, consolidated back under there, much like it did here. And here, perhaps as well, ended up breaking back over that red line across the other EMAs I have up here as well. But that's where I'm saying it goes to show how strong Bitcoin is going to be, let alone right now. So obviously, I've been waiting patiently. I've been telling you folks, I think it's going to be really soon. If you go back to the end of last week, I probably was like a day or two early, but we ended up seeing a ginormous pop going into, the early stages of the morning here by like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. Bitcoin blasting off to make a new all-time high, now over 63,000. And at this point, it's still holding near the highs. So let me flip to like a 5-minute chart, a 3-minute chart here even. You could see even going into this meeting, Bitcoin was squeezing back up here towards the last peak. And with that, Riot was making a pretty strong move in its own right. Some other cryptos, just while we're at it here, I mean, XRP, Ripple ended up making a huge move just a few days back, but it almost seems as if there's no stopping this for right now. Where's my Litecoin at? My Litecoin right over here, Litecoin Ltc, which is kind of known as like the silver to Bitcoin's gold. That's kind of how it's nicknamed. But nonetheless, Litecoin making a very similar move. And my favorite crypto here really quickly, Cardano, ADA. That's actually my biggest bag. I'm in this from 7 cents, 10 cents, 13 cents. This thing is just squeezing back up once again. So those are the three that I'm primarily following. Obviously, Bitcoin being the biggest of them, although not my biggest bag. That leads me back to Riot. So, we've seen Riot and Mara and Cannon and all of these other Bitcoin blockchain related companies trending well going into this time of the day. And almost every time, I think it's actually been every single time, they've never continued higher going into the afternoon. They never continued in their respective trends. And I say that generally. Now, the thing is today, I don't know what's up with Mara. I don't know what's up with Cannon, but both of those are pretty sluggish here. Actually, Mara much closer to the lows of the day. Not nearly as strong as Riot in that move up. And alongside Mara, the Cannon trade, I know that was off of earnings from yesterday, so definitely a bit more volatile. Ended up making a nice slingshot move up, but still, this is starting to push back up for right now, but not nearly as strong towards its highs and not nearly as correlated perhaps today to Bitcoin as Riot is. So it might sound tempting. It might look tempting given where it's at heading into the close. But we've never seen these blockchain Bitcoin related companies squeeze up higher or move in their respective trends. Watch, it'll be the one day that it does. But I'm not going to put Riot on our list. And even if I were to, this stock in particular is like a level 5 stock. As a new student joining CTU, it's definitely as a trial member. I mean, I just mentioned you shouldn't be trading with us regardless just yet. This is not the type of stock to do any sort of playing around with. Of them, I'd say maybe I'd be most interested in Canon. I mean, tight spread, relatively cheap compared to Riot. Perhaps squeezing with the SPY up to make a new high right now. Perhaps squeezing with Bitcoin as we speak. Maybe I'll come back to Canon. If we have a decent list, maybe I'll just kind of keep it on the side. All right. Now, outside of that, though, of course, I got to jump to the VTVT trade. So it almost seems like this wants to break higher as well. The one gripe I have on this stock going into the close is the fact that this stock, and I said it earlier, and it's still kind of strong, based on where it's at now, but it clearly hasn't broken out much higher since. This stock's trading over 200 million shares today, right? It's on a 14 million share float. Something's got to give, right? Like something's got to give here. This stock has been exhausted throughout the day today. I mean, it made a beautiful run up, ended up breaking higher going into the afternoon right off the 350. That was a beautiful entry if you were able to catch it right off the pop. But from that point, though, it hasn't really done much. Squeezed up and then came back down. And for a stock near the highs of the day, it seems tempting once again. But I think that this stock is so heavily traded that, for right now, I'm not as keen to just throw this on our list. I normally would be, but we'll definitely come back to this at the end. Obviously, I love the VTVT over Riot in terms of the price, liquidity, everything else. All right, got a call out from Grant a moment ago talking about the AAL trade. Actually, not Grant, my apologies there. Jerry. I got Grant and Jerry one on top of the other here in the trading room. So let's go to AAL here quickly. Jerry just mentioned that it is back up on the run. Ended up making a nice drop off as soon as the market opened today. And that was what we were talking about earlier in our Traders Talk workshop. So we ended up discussing the short quickly off of 22.20, the opening print, then the short from 22, the whole number. Unfortunately, it didn't get us much. And you would have expected it to, given the news that came out with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, how it was kind of affecting all of the transportation, travel-based companies this morning. A lot of selling off 22 as well in pre-market. So to see this only drop down like 25 or 30 cents from the whole number here, that's kind of a lackluster move that early in the morning. So, hey, it squeezed back up. More importantly, it held back over 22 with the market pushing back up once again. AAL definitely has recovered. Hey, I could say the same with AAL as I said just here with Canon. It still seems pretty volatile. It seems tradable. I want to just go from top to bottom to see if there's any new opportunities to work with going into the close. But if you made money on AAL earlier today, then I wouldn't be surprised at all for you to follow that yourself going into the close. I just want to see if there's anything looking sharper, anything making more of a recent pop or drop off of news or so forth. Actually, let's start from the beginning here. Actually, how about this? I'm going to jump to this right now because I ended up taking a loss. I call it a scratch trade, but for how volatile this stock is, it was a 4-cent loss. I jumped in. It was a nice breakout off at 21 on the MFNC trade. I don't know what the news was on this stock from earlier today. I don't have my Benzinga up right now in front of me, but for a choppy pre-market move, this was really ugly after the open. I didn't trade this at all at first. Ended up just kind of flattening out afterwards, really just trading in this tighter range, holding underneath 21. And maybe now it can make a potential squeeze, but the order book is so thin. I was really anticipating just a home run or like bust type of trade. So I came to this fortunately at the right time going into the afternoon. Like I really wasn't interested in this at all. I had it up on my level 4 at least. So I was cycling through that. And I noticed it was just holding under 21. So I was kind of being patient with it. I saw a pop and drop here, more buying at least from that point. So I said to myself off the next breakout, if this can get over 21, I'll lean into the trade. I took it on a half-size position. I wasn't going to be trading this on a full 1,000, but popped up nice at first. This looked really good as if it would make the big breakout higher like I was hoping from the morning. Unfortunately, snap back down. I just bring this up because Well, we don't know if this is going to keep going at this point. It is back up to 21. So this was meant as a day trade. I'm totally content taking the tiny loss out of all this. I was really, jumping or gunning for like a dollar move on this stock to see it at least run up towards 22, break high of the day. I didn't get it. Maybe later on we will, but I just think for right now, anyway, at this point, the spreads are still too wacky. The order book in general it's very light, spread out volume on the bid and the ask. So, I'm not as keen now to watch this as I was from before, because at least earlier, this was holding very nicely as a top. So when I took it, it was worth it. But at this point right now, it's just a lot more uncertainty to the trade. This NVCR, I probably shouldn't have even clicked it. Just very expensive stock. Made this crazy jump up in pre-market, up like 85, 100%, I think it was even at one point. Ended up diving off, though, way before the market opened up and much lower after. All right, VTVT, same thing with this. This one just trading like so much volume. Again, we'll come back to this at the end. This one here, Playboy, PLBY, not the magazine. Ended up making a big squeeze up like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. From 20 broke out from roughly, took off towards just about 32-ish, pulled back and made the slingshot up higher. I'd say the same with this, as I said before, on MFNC. Just too blank of an order book. That's not easy to read, then you just got to move on to another trade. And it's not easy to read for me, so I'd imagine it not to be easy to read for a lot of us here, let's just say. BTN, this thing ended up making a nice trend off the lows, not to say like a nice move breakout wise. This was like as choppy as can be, really, minute by minute. I'm talking about the trend off the lows it was holding, and still kind of holding here heading into the afternoon. The issue on this, right? It's trading 13.8 million shares. Prior to a couple days back, it was only trading less than 500,000 shares on average a day. It has a 17 million share float, so not terribly low compared to what it's trading right now. I'm not like the biggest fan of it right now, but it still is kind of holding a higher low. If it could hold over 4 here and blast up sooner than later, then I'll be interested in it. Yeah, I guess I'll put this on our list for right now. BTN, it's a cheapie, good spread. All right, another blockchain or Bitcoin, really, it's Bitcoin related stock, MicroStrategy. I mentioned these guys a long while back before they ended up running up. We were first watching them at like 250-ish, 225. Not to say that's what I was preaching as a swing trade, but this was the first company to begin to acquire Bitcoin as part of their corporate treasury. So, if you look up the news over the last 6 to 8 months, their CEO, Michael Saylor, has been like extreme advocate of Bitcoin, and a lot of CEOs have been following in his footsteps in particular. And I mean, obviously, you see what the company has done since. Just keep an eye on that as like a potential Bitcoin trade coming up too. Ooh, Angie's List. Look at this. Is this Angie's List? ANGI? Angie Inc. I guess they renamed, but high of the day, good liquidity on the book. Needless to be said, I like that. So this will join BTN at least for right now. All right. We got a couple here so far now on our main watch list. I know Fausto called out the NET trade a bit earlier going into the early afternoon, and obviously still at the highs. This is certainly out of our price range normally, but I'll put this on our watch list for our level 4 to 5 traders. The spread for a $79 stock, it's a little big. I've seen bigger, let's just say. So, maybe if this can contain itself, and even at this point right now, it's still kind of trading light volume as it's breaking over 79. So, if I'm looking to trade this, I would look to see a pullback on this stock and then make a slingshot up higher later on. Brings me back to Canon here. So, so far there hasn't been anything I've been truly in love with so far this meeting. It definitely wouldn't shock me if Canon makes the watch list, at the end of it. I'll just say that. And Co-Diagnostics, CODX, high of the day, just spotty chart, trading like crap volume per minute. GOVX, same thing. Novavax, familiar name, just super expensive. All right, we'll hop over to the losers list, folks. I think there's one more I wanted to look at, though. I don't really see it. Maybe it slipped past me. Now I'll just type it in. The MUDS trade, MUDS, right? Oh, no wonder why it's pulling back now. So MUDS, we ended up doing all right on this stock. I mean, more from the market open. I ended up catching this off of 1350. Where is my trade here? There we go. Got in right off 1350. If it could let me show you my position, 1351 I think was my entry price on 1,000 shares. It's being a pain in my ass right now. All right, well, I got 22 cents on this. I was hopeful to see this run up to break a new all-time high up towards 14. I didn't have a chance of seeing that. I set a stop below 1375, and it took me out. Definitely a good idea to place that stop. And for right now, it's a great side list trade. Maybe I'm not really seeing much to focus on for the afternoon just yet. Maybe tomorrow we'll put this back on our list depending on where it's at. But yeah, we'll pass for right now. All right, let's hop over to the losers list. Mara, as I'm going through, is actually breaking lower as we speak. MARA. Riot not breaking higher as well. Looks like Bitcoin's starting to make a tiny pullback. So check in with that in just a moment. Seat test. I didn't mean to even click this. This is always the dummy stock at the top of the losers list. From TradeStation at least. SQM.R. Interesting. I'm just going to skim through a bunch of this crap right now. AXTI, I was interested in this trade for this reason here, this potential drop-off, but just not really much going on right now. And I said that from much earlier today because anytime you see a stock make this like funky of a drop right here, squeeze right back up, you might think it could actually break out higher the next day. But otherwise, this stock was and is shortable. So, I was kind of hopeful for a drop off today. This was not on my radar as much going into the open. I was much more focused on that VTVT trade. But nonetheless, it looks like I didn't miss out on much here. So, maybe tomorrow, maybe for remainder of the week, keep it in mind. But for right now, we'll see if there's better looking. This looks better looking. AHCO, not necessarily in terms of the order book, but new low of the day right now, a huge spike of volume here. Looks like a ton of transactions getting filled, 100K prints getting filled, 29.23-ish, 29.28. Now, what's the instant reaction afterwards, right off that, right off these prints coming out? Well, it's dropped off, but it hasn't truly broken below the next major support yet. The next major support's off 29. So why did those prints happen? Could that be short covering and for this stock to begin to squeeze back up? Or was that the beginning of a new breakdown and this is just going to slam below 29 and just drop real fast? Well, started to break 29. I'm going to put the line right to 29.23. And then alongside that, I'll just draw one really quick, 29.28. Just put both lines there off those two print lines, right off 29.23-ish, 29.28. And then major support you would imagine to be off 29, but there wasn't a whole lot of volume filled there off the break. So that's where I was saying be careful. This might really begin to drop off now. Yeah, for right now, we'll put this on our list. AHCI. I wish it did have a more liquid order book. All right, so what else do we have here, folks? Ooh, Amarin down 13%. Familiar name. It's doing jack right now, unfortunately, but this one kind of crept up the losers list here today, didn't it? Ended up dropping off as soon as the market opened. I mean, just steady drop off from that point. This, has been a side list stock. Ken says here in our trading room, it was our favorite from last year. I'd even say the year before that. I mean, it's been on our radar for a bit. Right here. This is how, 2018. Geez, time flies. So I remember this as if it was yesterday, but it was 2018. Stock ended up making this huge, after hours run and then the pre-market as well. But the stock was shortable that day. Wasn't really a great short that day, just kept going up after, but it remained shortable. So to see a stock make that big of a pop and then move up, it's going to drop, and it provided actually a really good opportunity as a short later on, and it's been on our radar since, more off than on actually of late. But anytime I see the stock pop up on the gainers or losers, I'm interested right away. Unfortunately, just very slow right now, so maybe tomorrow. FBIO, another familiar name just from the last few days of this week from yesterday, dropped off quite nicely. And for right now, actually starting to make a bit of a squeeze. Again, side list, we'll kind of keep this on. I like the Canon trade perhaps a bit more. We'll check back in on VTVT, American Airlines, and all of those others that we kind of just pushed off on the side. Wouldn't expect to see a whole lot on the losers list with the SPY and the Dow just running up really nicely here. All right, so folks, I'll toss it to you on social media here. Just let me know if there's any other stocks that you would want me to call out, look at here. Of course, for all of us live inside the trading room, you folks know. Dan on YouTube, USA with a question mark. Whoa, look at that. I thought he was asking for American. No, I'm joking with that. I've never really looked at this symbol before, though. Good old USA. Look at this. Liberty All-Star Equity Fund. Yeah, this seems to be a fund. I don't know in relation to what sector, if any. Maybe take a quick look. But you could see this has made the quintessentially the same move as the major markets. Look at the SPY. Look at good old USA. Now, what explains this pop? I have no idea. I have no idea what explains that pop, and that will actually warrant me to bring up Benzinga Pro right now. I told you that I didn't have it up, and I don't. But to see this type of pop here, I'm definitely interested. It's not up, more than 2% really, so it seems good on the chart. But when you look at percentage-wise, it's got a ways to go to show any sort of like continuation. Back on, or just yesterday, they ended up raising their dividend from, they only raised it up a penny. It's not really that big, but I don't know, Dan. Interesting to look at, that's for sure. I appreciate you typing this in the chat board. I'm not as jumpy to trade this, I'll tell you, just because I feel like this will come back down. It's a fund. I know that for certain too. So level 3 might, look a lot different in terms of trading this compared to a publicly traded company and equity, I should rather say. But we'll keep this on the side, that's for sure. Ken says VTVT pumping. It's crawling. It's crawling. And it's making a move enough for us to put this back on our main list here. So we'll give VTVT a second look. It's, back to the highs officially. Got a few cents away, but hopefully this can make the move that we would all dream about, right? Just I'm a little concerned about the amount of volume traded across the day comparative to its float. Given how tight the spread is, at least, it's well worth the attempt. If you get stopped out on this trade, no problem. This would be the type of stock that's very tradable so long as you set your stop and manage it well. The last thing that you want to do is kick your feet back, enjoy Margaritaville, only to see this thing slam right back down and you'd be on the wrong side of that trade. Because, I said it before, 350 was a really big level from earlier today, and it's taken its sweet time to make this move back up right now. So, this is going one of two ways here, folks. This is going to be a big breakout higher into the close, or this is going to be a false breakout, and it's going to slam it right back down. Again, the fact that it has a tight spread and really good liquidity on the order book makes it really interesting to try and trade. Just make sure you set your stop. That's all. All right, we'll jump back with that in mind to Canon, AAL, I guess FBIO too I put on there. Canon not doing a whole lot, not really a fan. AAL, if you traded it from earlier today, made money on it, then perhaps you keep it in mind going into the close, right? Norman asking, how about CCL? Same thing. Same thing here. Oh, look at this, FBIO making a pop right behind our backs. I said we're going to put this on the quote-unquote side list, and I would check back in with this just before we finished up too. All right, so is this going to make the list here at this point? We don't really have too many stocks on our list here so far. I think in total we only have 5, and one of them is like the pretty expensive NET trade. So, you know what, for right now, FBIO, it's just tradable. I mean, for right now, it's making a pop. We'll respect that and follow that potential pop and trend up higher. But if it makes a false breakout and if it craps out the other way, then it could be a pretty interesting short opportunity. I think that answers our question on Riot. Check back in on my crypto before we finish up. My Cardano dropping off. There's Bitcoin dropping back down a little bit here. I'm sure just a healthy pullback in the grand scheme of things. We'll see what happens over the evening going into early tomorrow morning. All right. But yeah, for right now, we'll keep Riot on the side, Canon on the side, Mara certainly on the side. That thing is tanking at this point, the Mara trade. So if anything, Mara might be a better short to watch going into the close than anything else. All right, folks. But outside of that, I think in total, we have a good list to work with. 6 stocks in total. I'll post and tweet these out for all of us on social media, for all of those as well on social media. If you haven't already, make sure that you like, subscribe, notify as we preach just on our YouTube channel. Make sure that you know when we're going live, when we're not. So the link to that's right at youtube.com/cybertradingu. Otherwise, if you have yet to do so on top, feel free to join us live Monday to Friday, live inside our Cyber Group trading room. I'm going to be on a coaching call myself from 3 to 3:30. I'll be back on the mic at 3:30, taking us going into the close. I'll talk to you soon, folks. Take care.